of different puzzle pieces of different puzzles put together, and you got to pull out the right ones from the right boxes. They're all like smashed together. You have like 30 puzzles all smashed together in a pile, and you like pull out the right pieces to make the picture.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. They come out awesome.
Well,
thanks for your awesome work.
I'm super glad you enjoyed it. That's awesome. I'm excited to see what it does for you, like where that goes in your head.
That is the one really great thing about this going to the pandemic and everybody doing Zoom meetings. We can get judges that are from everywhere now.
Yeah.
And it's, you know, it's not just our local people, and it's really exciting to have somebody of your caliber to look over this stuff. It's really neat.
Well, I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, that might have exceeded our travel budget for the next 30 years, I think, if we had to pay for you to come down.
Well, we have to wait for the borders to open at this rate. So.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. When Renee first popped on here, right at about 6:30, we were talking about they're in heavy lockdown up there in Canada right now. She was, we won't have to go, retell the story to everybody and so forth. But I mean, you said you're like as tight as it's been all along, and here in the U.S., we're starting to be able to open up. And in fact, one of the things that I'll bring up here in our discussion here is that they're actually allowing us to open up the Lone Tree Civic Center for some of these meetings and that if we choose to do so here going forward. So we'll get a survey out there and see who's comfortable with that soon, a month from now, 2 months from now, or whatever in that. But eventually we'll be able to do that. But Renee was saying, like up in Canada right now, the spread has been so rapid in that you guys said 3 weeks, and you're like in right now a 3-week hard lockdown. I think you said, right?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. We don't have curfew here, but other provinces do. Like Quebec and Ontario have curfew. My province is very libertarian, so it's really hard to convince our leadership to lock down, but it's just running out of control. I mean, we have more. In our province, we have more cases per 100,000 than anywhere else in North America. So it's just spreading like wildfire. Unfortunately, we got the Brazil variant and one other one, and it's just super contagious, and we just can't get a hold of it. So they shut us down, and I was like, okay, well, I don't know how I'm going to pay my bills coming up, but thanks.
Is your rate of vaccination slower than?
Oh yeah, so. Yeah, we originally, this is strange, but originally we had a trade agreement with the US for vaccines because we have such a small population. We have 30 million in the whole country. That when the US bought a certain amount, then we would get we would buy a percentage of that off of them. And then when Biden got into power, he nixed it. And so then all of a sudden Canada, we were like, sweet, we have a vaccine plan. And then that changed when the administration changed.
Wow.
And then we had no access to anything at all. So then by the time we were putting bids in, we were bottom of the list. So, I mean, my dad is 66 and he just got his first shot like a couple weeks ago.
Wow.
So, and his next shot isn't for 16 weeks.
16 weeks?
That's when we can't get them sooner than that. So.
Oh my God.
It's horrible.
Yeah, and Alberta, like the province I'm in, we're vaccinating faster than anywhere else in the country right now. Which is kind of sad. We're getting about 300,000 people a week. Wow. But that's when we can get vaccines, and we're out. I think we run out next week or something like that. We're out of vaccines again until June. Well.
and that's just wrong. And out here in the U.S., I mean, different people have different thoughts on this or whatever. And that, like I said, I got my vaccine as soon as it was available to me, and then got the second one just a week ago or whatever. But there's a lot of people that are choosing not to. And then the concern is that you get, there's this herd immunity that supposedly you have to get to with whatever percentage it is that people get vaccinated. But there's enough people choosing not to that you don't know if we're going to get to that this year or when that'll take place. So
yeah, it's the same here. So I mean, just kind of like one day at a time. Just like, well, I guess we'll see what happens. Like I can't control it, so just gotta outlast it and try to not be the one that winds up on a ventilator. So.
Well, I hope things return to normal because you need to come down to Denver and make a huge workshop where you make
I
shitloads of money.
love Denver, so that would be awesome.
Yeah.
My mom used to race horses down in Denver.
Oh, really?
Yeah, she was a jockey. So
At Arapahoe Park?
I don't remember the name of the park. This
Ah.
was in the 70s. So
Oh, it might have been Centennial.
Hmm.
could have been.
You
Yeah,
old timers might remember that.
I would have to ask her. Yeah, she was racing down there for like on and off for years.
Wow.
Yeah, so we raised quarter horses. So
Okay. Yeah.
we raised racing quarter horses.
Yeah.
So
Well, this whole group can spread the word about your next workshop down here. So
We-
you just
There you
We
go.
could sponsor. We could
schedule
sponsor.
coming up. I'm
That's
serious, yeah.
Yeah, we sponsor a lot of workshops. So
yeah, that'd be
great.
super fun. I'd love to. I mean,
Yeah.
the last time I was in Colorado, I was storm chasing. So I don't know if you guys ever follow any of the work of Kelly DeLay.
Hmm.
You should go.
I
You
don't
should
know.
check him out. I'll pull him up on Instagram here and I'll put it in the chat.
Yeah.
He goes. He storm chases all through the Midwest. But I met him in Colorado for about 2 weeks, and we did storm chasing all the way up through to Chicago, and it was awesome. There you go. I just put him in the chat there. He does.
Yeah.
You guys, because you're right close on the mountains there, you get those amazing storm systems that come through and like in spring and summer. I mean, we get them up here too, but it's different in the States.
Sometimes amazing is not the word we use for that, but you get the storms there that get pretty wicked at times. So
Yeah, I mean, I love storm season. We get it up here as well, but it's always unfortunate when you get a tornado, just like take the town off the face of the earth.
So I'll launch the meeting here in a second. But the other thing I was going to bring up, Renee, is I saw we have a few people here also who do some of the light painting and that sort of thing. But today, your friend Eric, all right, how do you pronounce the last name?
I mean, I pronounce it like an Anglophone, so I butcher it. It's for English speakers, it's pare.
Yeah.
In French, you're supposed to roll the R, and I don't know how to roll my R. I'm a terrible Canadian. I'm the worst bilingual speaker.
Okay, but he and Kim, is it, had a real good presentation today on photo pills on their, the light tubes, the light tube painting and that. So I think the recording of that will probably be out pretty soon.
Definitely watch that. Yeah, they're amazing. They're so talented, and they're like the sweetest, most kind people. I love them.
Because I think you said you were with them out here at Garden of the Gods when they were doing some of their.
Yeah, that was with Kelly, actually.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, that was that whole group.
All together. Yeah.
Great. Okay. It looks like we're a little bit past the hour here, so I'll go ahead and sort of launch the tonight's agenda. Let's see here. Again, I want to thank everybody again for submitting images and attending. This is our 9th meeting of 2021. Once again, they've all been here via the Zoom platform. I was mentioning here a few minutes ago, and I'll bring it up again, that we do, Bruce just got word the other day that the Lone Tree Civic Center is actually going to be opening and available for meetings. We don't know all of the rules on that yet in terms of number of attendees, masks, and some of those kind of things and that. But they are opening up, so we do have, I guess, as early as June, the ability to meet in person.
Hey, Michael, I did get clarification on the rules and regulations. So if everyone in the room is vaccinated, you don't have to wear masks. The occupancy is 50 people per the room, so there's no restrictions on the occupancy because they've lifted most of the sanctions, and so they really didn't talk about social distancing. She sent, I think I forwarded you guys that email. So realistically, we could kind of sort of have a regular meeting. My guess is that we would probably be wearing masks because I'm assuming not everyone would have their vaccine at that point. But it's really pretty simple. There wasn't a lot of heavy, hard rules. So,
okay.
So an update on that.
Yeah, it's kind of surprising that that's there, but I guess it's not too different than going to restaurants, other than you're, sitting amongst other people who aren't part of your immediate party or whatever. And that and so what we were thinking about doing is sending out a survey to everybody just to kind of get everybody's input, thoughts on, would you be willing to meet in person? Are you still a little bit skeptical of doing that? Do we want to push that out a couple of months and kind of just wait and see how things evolve here over the next month or two? Other options that are out there too is we could do some meetings in person, some meetings via Zoom, trying to figure out if there's a way to do it where you do the same meeting in both, right? Where you do it live in person, but you also have a Zoom presentation going on to those that aren't able to make it in person. So we'll see. We're still figuring out some of the logistics of this stuff, but we'll get there. But we will probably have a survey going out to everybody. So if you don't mind, just take a few minutes to fill that out and send it back, and we'll kind of go with what the consensus is as far as in-person meetings here in the next couple of months. Let's see here. I'm gonna go down here. A couple of other upcoming events and that, or I'll say just even before I get to our upcoming events, a couple of other things that are going on. I don't know if anybody's been watching them, but they have the Lightroom virtual conference that's going on right now. Yeah, I don't have the link to it, but for those that have been watching it, I've only had a chance to see a couple of them, but pretty good speakers, presenters in that on just kind of the world of Lightroom, different, I guess each one is about an hour presentation or whatever. They're all free to attend, and I
I'll
think
just
they
put
go.
it into the chat here for you.
Okay. Okay, great. Thanks, Renee. I think they go on for another 2 days. I think it's through the end of this week and that. And the ones that have already taken place up till now are recorded, and I think they're available for 48 hours or something like that. But it's worth checking out for those that want to take a look at some of the Lightroom information out there. Another thing that's coming up, the Professional Photographers of Colorado, they have their annual salvage yard shoot with Jeff Johnson, and that is this Saturday. There's a couple different sessions. One's, I think it's 8 to 11 in the morning, and the second one is noon to 3, I guess, the 3-hour sessions or whatever in that. So they do have some of their information out on their website for those that want to attend that. And so now as far as our events that are coming up, let's see, we've got May 15th. There's the Sunset Long Exposure Workshop. This is with Matt Theobald. That's at the Black Rock Lake near Santa Fe and C470. This was the event that we were going to have earlier in April, and it was a day that the forecast was for snow and wind and just wicked weather. So we had to postpone it from that date, but it's got moved out to May 15th. That's a Saturday evening. And again, he gave a presentation to our club earlier this year on using filters, neutral density filters. And so this would be a great opportunity for those that want to go out and put those skills to use and actually get his instruction in that out in the field. So that is May 15th. May 19th, we have Glenn Randall. He's going to be presenting on photographing meteor showers. I know he's got a workshop during the period of the Perseid meteor showers in, I guess that's August. So this would be a good tune-up for that want to attend that. So that's Wednesday, May 19th. June 2nd, we have another exhibition night that's similar to these competition nights, but just without a judge, so we don't get scored. But it's a good opportunity to submit a few images, describe how, why, where you took the shot, and also just get feedback from members, suggestions, and so forth with regards to composition, post-processing, and so forth. So I've always found those to be really good learning opportunities. So again, that one is June 2nd. June 16th, we have Joseph Roybal, who's going to be presenting on color theory for landscape photography. July, I believe it's July 21st, Bruce is putting together, this will be the 3rd annual scavenger hunt. I participated in the last couple, and it's a lot of fun. So Bruce will put together details, but essentially he'll have a list of things that we go out and shoot. We go out and shoot something that fits that category, and then we follow up with a competition type event. Am I right on that, Bruce, as far as July 21st, or is it earlier that month?
I think that's correct.
Okay, it's the 3rd Wednesday.
The day we were targeting, yeah.
3rd Wednesday is what I think.
Yep.
Let's see here. On August 18th, we have a presentation. Tim Gray, he does, he has like daily email blasts that he has out there, primarily Photoshop and Lightroom, but he's going to actually be presenting on PhotoPills. That's the phone app that's useful for planning landscape, night photography, sun positions, moon positions, hyperfocal distance info, and a lot of other things that are on there. So he's going to be giving a webinar presentation that night, and so that's August 18th. And September 1st will be our next competition night. And then September 15th, we have, let's see, I think they're both here tonight. Carino and Ashley will be presenting. Again, these are the two Photographer of the Year recipients that won last year. Each of them had only been photographing for about 2 years and received that award. So they're going to be going over just kind of how in such a short amount of time they, what they learned, how they went about, their rapid growth to success. So that is on September 15th. And then we're working on some of the other programs that we'll be putting together here later in the later months of the year. So now I want to turn my attention over to thank you, Renee, tonight for joining us. Renee is a professional photographer and retoucher based in Alberta, Canada. Really highly skilled in studio portraits, environmental portraits, landscape, commercial work, and pretty much anything that has to do with photography. She's very good at it. And I'll say in particular, her composite work, we've already talked about that a little bit here this evening, but her composite work really stands out. These composites, they blend fact, fiction, a little bit of alchemy together to create really unique cinematic images. She's taught several courses for Creative Live and Pro EDU. She's also brought together her own group of friends, professional composite photographers, and created her own series of tutorials under the Alchemist Library. I'll put that out there unless if Renee, you have that handy, if you want to throw that one in the chat also.
I'll do that.
And again, I've had a chance to go through some of those myself, and we were talking about this earlier, but there's things that she covers in Photoshop that I never knew existed in that with regards to the composite work. So it's really amazing stuff. She also recently presented an online storytelling event tutorial, if you want to call it, for Wacom. They do the Wacom tablets. She's lectured at large events, including WPPI, Photo Plus, Photokina, and several others. When the world gets back to normal, I'm assuming that she's going to resume her environmental portrait workshops, typically held in the really nice region of Newfoundland.
Yeah, Newfoundland.
Newfoundland?
Yeah.
I pronounced that wrong, I'm sure.
Americans pronounce it different than Canadians.
Okay. She's also a real active participating member with This Week in Photo. Frederick Van Johnson, he was one of our judges earlier this year in that. And that's how I've got to know Renee, is through some of the events that she sponsors through them and weekly get-togethers and that. So appreciate that. And then the last thing I was going to bring up here is that she really has a strong sense of adventure. She has experiences in motorcycle riding, dance, and of all things, has done fire breathing before. So, and I know that this list is just a very small fraction of a lot of things that you have done or do and that. So, with that, I'll go ahead and turn it over. Renee, I don't know if you have anything else that you have, any other things coming up. Do you have another series of the Alchemist Library?
Yeah.
Being put together?
Yeah, we're working on that. We were hoping to have it launched by spring, but as the world turns on, getting people organized is taking a little bit longer, and I'm not stressed about it. So yeah, it'll be the spring summer season of Alchemist should be live in the next month or so.
Okay, great.
So yeah, that's what we're hoping for. We got a bunch of new artists on board, so super stoked.
Okay. Like I say, I've learned a lot from the ones that you have out there before and that, so I appreciate it.
Well, thanks.
And so with that, I'll go ahead and turn it over to Paul. We'll go through tonight's competition. I think he sent you the instructions and that. If you have any questions in that, feel free to ask as we go through. But it really moves, it's pretty self-explanatory as we move it through and that. So I'll let him go ahead and do the intro of what we do here with the competitions.
Okay, well, thanks, Michael. And it's the link is in the chat. It was the very, very first one. And Renee just put it up again. Thank you, Renee. And I'll put up in just a minute here, I'll put up the QR code too. So if anybody wants to use that. But just to preface again, the procedure, I actually see one new name here, and I'll recognize him. Keith Thurman, who's from Jackson, Mississippi, joined us a few weeks ago. I know Keith through a friend of mine who's a photographer down there. And Keith either is or was the president of the Greater Jackson, Mississippi Photography Club. So welcome, Keith. And he has submitted, obviously I won't say what, but at the end, and again, for everybody's sake, the typical procedure we use is, we'll do our voting here, the audience member voting. And then we will go directly right after that to Renee, who, because fortunately, I say fortunately, we have only quote unquote 40 entries, which is a little less, but again, we arbitrarily decided to put it down to a maximum of 2 entries this time. I had been getting some feedback from the prior judges in a very gracious way that 60 to 80 entries and me telling them they had 45 seconds on each one was a little unfair. And I think also, with the weather getting better and the world, at least now I find out it's not the world, let me just say the United States, not Canada, getting safer, more and more people getting out doing other things, that I think we just naturally had fewer entries. But 40, I remember in the old days in person, 40 was a really good number. So I think that's great, actually. So I'm going to go ahead and share. And before I do, Chuck, are you good on your end? Okay, good. All right, Chuck.
Yep, we're all set over here.
Thanks. So yeah, if you don't know Chuck, Chuck has an abacus in his basement, and he tallies the votes on his abacus. So if any of you want to do the QR link, you can either do that, or, and let me go a little, or you go to LoneTreePhotoClub.com/vote. So I'll just wait a few seconds here and make sure everybody has that up. You can either do that on your phone or on another window here, and we will be doing our normal voting. So I think if I'm going to assume everybody's got that up, so we are going to call up the images here, and I will put this full screen. I'm going to minimize this. So we are in the, oh, and one thing I need to say, you're going to see one monochrome image in the beginner intermediate color category. And the reason for that is that rather inexplicably, we only had one entry in that category. It typically always is the least entered, but because we only had one, it would have been unfair to that individual to let him or her win. So I made the decision today to just include that in color. So please, 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 when you vote, don't say, gee, that color looks really drab on the obvious monochrome image. So, don't discount it for that. Go on the merits of the actual images, if you will. So let's go. Yes.
Just as a side note, looking at the score sheet,
Yeah.
we didn't remove the digital monochrome beginner intermediate category, but it will require a vote. So just as you're clicking through and scoring, just click any score in that one.
I'll remind everybody. Thanks for pointing that out, Chuck.
Yep.
I forgot about that. Okay, good. And is my screen up? It's always the first image that sometimes doesn't show. Is there like a star trail shot?
You have the QR link is what I still see up there.
All right, so here's what I learned. You click stop share, and then you go back and you do it again. Now is there a Star Trail image up?
Yep. I see it.
Okay. Does anybody not see it?
It's there.
Michael?
Yeah, you're
It's
good.
there?
Yeah, we're good.
Bruce? Okay, good. All right. So here's the first one. And again, I'll spend about maybe 15 seconds on each image that you can take a look at, but you do have to vote kind of quickly, obviously. And as Chuck mentioned, you do have to vote on each image, whether you want to or not. Otherwise, when you hit submit, it won't take it. So, and you're not submitting until the very last image is voted on. So this one is called As the World Turns. Again, we're in that first on the voting sheet here, digital color, beginner, intermediate, As the World Turns. And again, if you're on your phone, I always suggest turn it portrait so you get to see 5 through 10, 5 being the lowest, 10 being better than Ansel Adams, or at least the highest. Okay. Next image is leaves floating on a pond in the rain. Okay. The next one is called Love. This one, hold on, is called Milky Way at Pleasure Park. Next image is called Misty Fjord. Misty Fjord. Next one is called Take Off. And in honor of Renee being in Canada, I won't sing Take Off to the Great White North.
It's a bit cold right now anyways.
the great Mackenzie Brothers song. And the last one in this category is called White Pass. White Pass. And you should, that red that was at the bottom that said, you know, and you must vote in each row should disappear with the last one. If it didn't, you forgot to vote for one of them. So we are now going to color, but this is the advanced now. And the first image is called America the Beautiful. And feel free to deduct for the person putting their name on it. I don't look at these, so I don't judge either. But
you don't have to do that. I did the same thing, like on the last competition. I did the same.
Yeah, I'm giving that person a hard time who deserves a few points taken off. No, I'm not doing that. Okay. This one is called Daniela. This one is called End of the Road. Next one is called Future Earth. Next image is called Industry. Next one is Ivory Tears. Next, we have Misty Morning Sleep-In. Next one is Monolith. Next is Nestled Among the Hills. This one is Pastel Sunflower. This one is Recalling the Dance. Next is Riding Through Flowers. Next, we have Symphony of Color. This is Tell Us One More. This is The Gentle Flow of Time. Next is Tree Topper. And we have Tulip Trio. Next is Two Chimneys.
And that one hasn't come up yet, Paul. It's a little delay.
Oh, okay. Let me go back. This is Tulip Trio. And Two Chimneys, has this come up yet?
There you go. Yep.
Okay. Okay, the next one is Urban Hunter. And the last one in this category is called Winter Garden. Okay, let's go to, so the next, this is what Chuck was referring to. The next category on your vote sheet says digital monochrome, beginner, intermediate. And since that was put in, actually, I don't think this is required. Well, yeah, so everybody just put whatever number, there is none for this. Just vote on a number so that there won't be a problem when you hit the submit button. We're not tallying that. The last category is the monochrome advanced. And the first one, hopefully this came up. Let me know if it didn't. It's called Crooked Smile.
Yeah, it's up, Paul.
Good, thanks. Okay. All right. Next one we have is Dreamy Morning. Next is Gateway. Next image is In Need of Salvation. Next is It's a Hard Knock Life. Okay. Next image is called Sacred Grotto. Next is San Francisco de Assis Mission. This one is Spring Has Sprung. Next is Springtime Sledding. The next one is Storm Butte. And our final image for tonight is Zen in black and white. And on your vote sheet, there are the old print categories, which obviously we haven't done in about a year. And those don't have a requirement, so you don't have to put you don't have to assign a score to them. So at this point, if you're done, just hit submit. And those get sent via Western Union to Chuck's basement. And he'll come back on when Renee is done. And we will get all the results. But at this point, Renee, are you feeling ready?
Yep, good to go. Sorry, I had to turn the mute off.
Okay. All right. So again, I'm going to do the same thing, but I'll leave each image up for as long as you want. I would suggest, a minute to a minute and a half at max. But you can go less on some, more on whatever you're comfortable with. And then, after your comments, critique on it, shoot me a score, say the score, and I'll record it. And after we're done with all the categories, then we'll be doing your score and the voting score. So.
Oh, I just did the voting score online with everyone.
Oh, okay.
That's okay. That one will put those ones in also in that. So if you remember what your scores were that you entered in there, just kind of mention that on this one here, because yours will be treated separately on this. But we're
okay, yeah. I will not remember what I scored, but
okay, well, come up with something different then on the as you
yeah.
We'll see if I'm consistent.
Yeah. No, that's okay. That's fine. Okay. So yeah.
Go ahead.
I'll just go ahead and give the title again so everybody knows what it is. So this is As the World Turns.
Yeah, so this is a very, very, very cool concept. I mean, I am 99.99% sure this is a sky swap, but I can't tell if it's online, but it's soft along the mountain range where the star trails have been pushed out. And one of the things that happens with sky swaps, especially in this case, is we have so much atmospheric depth going on to the mountains here. So if you look at the amount of contrast in the mountains along the horizon versus the contrast in the sky, there's a very stark difference there. So one thing that would improve this image a lot is, I hate to say it because I normally don't like this slider at all, but Lightroom and Adobe Camera Raw have a dehaze slider, and you would want to really try to get rid of some of that haze, that environmental haze, so that the sky and the environment itself, they look cohesive.
And a score?
I gave this one a 6.
Okay.
It's a very cool concept. But yeah, the contrast, and like I said, I can't tell if it's an online thing or not, but the masking line along the horizon looks a bit soft as well. So this is like, if you're gonna do this kind of image, also your sky trails, your stars are sharper than your subject and the rest of your image. So if you're gonna try doing this, really try to match your sharpness of your image all the way through to the sky that you're replacing as well. So probably focus stacking would be really helpful.
Good advice. Okay, the next one is Leaves Floating on a Pond.
Okay, I gave this one a 6 as well. This is really, really cool. This is an image that I think could really benefit from just a little bit more push in saturation and maybe luminosity masking. I think would really, really be beneficial here. Because it is a very cool concept and I love the droplets and everything. Fall is my favorite season. But yeah, I think just like a little push in luminosity masking and saturation would make this a lot stronger.
Okay. This one is Love.
Yeah, this is great. This is an image where I would love to see it in black and white, but in color, it's also quite strong. We don't know why this animal is completely soaked. So it kind of makes a little bit of a story of like, what happened? Were they just working hard? Did they fall in a pond? Like, what's going on here? But you can clearly see the connection between the two of them, and the trust and everything. And I think that's very, very sweet. So I gave that one a 7.
Okay. Next is Milky Way at Pleasure Park.
Yeah, this one's also really nice. I like the composition and the Milky Way, of course. Again, like it's hard to see on these Zoom calls, like what the image actually looks like. On my end, it is a little bit pixelated. So I apologize to anybody watching who is like, my image is sharp, I'm sorry. Just ignore me then. But one of the things that I do notice here is that the Milky Way looks sharper than the rocks itself, especially towards the horizon line. So again, like this, the lighting on it, obviously the environment was photographed at night. But I just wonder about the sharpness towards the horizon line again. And again, that's my only critique on this one. Like a little bump in saturation probably wouldn't hurt anything. But again, like, yeah, I think it's super strong. I give this one a 7 as well.
This is Misty Fjord.
This one has a very cool composition. I quite like these shots, but it is overcooked in HDR processing. That's what we call it. Is this when it's overbaked? So you're getting like these halos, and if you zoom in towards the edges, you're getting these like glowing edges and stuff. That means that you've overbaked your processing. And so as a result, I gave this one a 5. It is a very cool composition. It is sharp all the way through, which is great. But it is super, super, super overbaked. So if you want to create these kind of images, just dial it back like a tiny little bit, like about 30%.
Okay, next one is Takeoff.
Yeah, I love this. So pandemic hobby for me, I've started photographing birds. And I'm awful at it. I take terrible bird photos, but it's really fun and it's really hard. So like getting these kinds of shots, I can appreciate how difficult it is. The water is super sharp. My only 2 critiques on this one, I mean, the saturation is nice. I like the green stripe on his head. My only critique on this one, it would have been nice, and I realize sometimes it's impossible to get a little bit lower onto the water. And again, sometimes it's just not possible. And if possible, a little faster shutter speed because the wings, the tips are a little bit blurred. Again, though, you got to be shooting crazy, crazy, crazy fast speeds in order to get those duck wings sharp. So I give this one a 7.
And last one in this category, White Pass.
Yeah, I quite like this one. I think the composition is really, really nice. The sharpness, it looks good on my end all the way through. Again, like take this with a grain of salt. But the composition is really nice. I really like the color processing on it. I gave this one, I think I gave this one an 8. So there's no like blown out highlights or totally crushed blacks. I think it's just like, it's just very pleasing.
Yeah, and if at any time you need me to zoom, on some of these I can't zoom if it's like already totally cropped, but
Yeah,
I
it's
can
fine.
always try. So just let me know.
Yeah, it's all good. I mean, on Zoom, it does like compress the images a little bit. So I know.
All right.
Oh.
Yeah, I understand. And Chuck, do you need any ties broken?
Is that one scoring as the color image, just as the category?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
No ties in.
Okay. All right. So now we are going to the, just said my internet connection's unstable. So hopefully as the world, or I'm sorry, America the Beautiful is up on my screen. Is it up on yours?
Yep.
Okay, good.
Yeah, so this one's really nice. The color processing on it is very lovely. The composition is nice. My only critique on this one is the path along the bottom here. It is, at least on my frame, I don't know if Zoom is cutting it off or not. Do you mind pulling it out of full screen for a sec just to see?
Sure. Yeah.
Waiting for it to load.
I'm talking about. Oh, okay.
Okay, good. It's not cut off. Okay, then I changed my rating then.
Okay.
Yeah, because on Zoom there's like that border there at the bottom, and I was like, oh, that'd be really nice if that trail was in there, but it is. So I will change my rate. So I'll change that one to an 8. I think it's really, really nice.
Oh, okay. Next one is Daniela.
Yeah, so this is a really nicely lit shot. The processing on it is quite clean. I do find like these kinds of poses are a little bit they're done a lot, so I think the posing could be a little bit more creative on this. And the crop, like the one thing that I find a little bit distracting on it is the fact that the bottom of the door frame is going straight through her knees. So I think it would have been nicer if this was photographed and just like set her back into the frame a little bit more, just to watch those lines going through the joints along the bottom. So this one I scored as a 6. It is really nice. But yeah, I find that like a couple of those lines are a little bit distracting.
Okay. This is end of the road.
Yeah, so again, this is a very cool concept, but it is overbaked again with the HDR on my screen especially. And again, like, yeah, take it with a grain of salt if whoever made this, you have more detail than I do. But I mean, this starburst here, like that really should be brighter than what it is. Because right now there's just like clouds going all the way through it. So if you're getting that starburst, usually there's a little bit of a highlight there of some form, and it's been completely taken out. But I mean, the composition and the concept is really cool. I quite like the shot. It's just, yeah, it's a little too overbaked. So yeah, I gave this one a 6.
Okay. Next is Future Earth.
Yeah, this is cool. This is really nice. This is very pleasing. The color palette on it is gorgeous. The composition is really, really nice. I think this sorry, I just saw the comment come up there from Larry. Yeah, we do lose a little bit of the bottom of each image when it goes into full screen, but that's fine. But yeah, so this is really cool. I think I gave this one an 8. I think it's a very cool view. I love the color choices in it. It hasn't been over processed or anything like that. The luminance on it is quite pleasing. And I really like the way the lines are kind of like, swirling together and coming towards the peak of the image. It's very nice.
So what is it that's cutting off the bottom? Is it the zoom controls?
It's just the bottom. So Zoom has like a banner on the bottom of Zoom,
yeah,
for us, and so we're just losing like the bottom couple inches of each image.
I see. On mine, it's on the top. So I've been worried about. I thought you were seeing the banner on the top, but not the bottom.
Oh yeah, no, we're on the bottom.
Okay.
Us
right.
Plebs who are not in control of everything.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. So yeah, just let me know if you want this off full screen at any time. So
yeah, for sure. Yeah, I'll mention.
Okay. This one is called Industry.
Yeah, this is very cool. This is like where I live. This is our entire lives. Yeah, so this is really cool. You've got a little bit of the reason why I gave this the score that I did. I gave this one a 6. It's cool composition. It's very busy, which is very normal in this situation. We don't have any blown highlights that shouldn't be blown. We don't have any crushed blacks, which is really nice. The color processing is really cool. But the flare stack here, it's just a little bit distracting in that I wish it either had been photographed so that it was smoother, or like so it was a longer exposure or a shorter exposure. Right now it's like this weird in between place where it's a little bit uncomfortable. But yeah, so did I give you the rate for that one already?
Yes.
Okay,
6.
yeah.
Okay. Next is Ivory Tears.
Super cool, very cool shot. This is really nice. The vignetting is a little bit harsh on it. We're getting some crushed blacks here on the top right and the bottom left on my screen. Again, like this could be totally different what you see on yours, so I apologize. But this is like a really, really, really nice shot. I like the lighting, I like the composition, I like the highlight, on the edge of the piano in the back. So I gave this one a 7. This is very, very cool.
Hey, Paul, on that one, is there a view that I'm just trying to see, like over on that right side, is there like a view that shows the distinction? There you go. That's what I was looking for, where it's not,
Mhm.
because when it was against that black background, it was tough.
Yeah.
I don't know if that helps or not, but
Yeah, I don't know, Renee, can you see I reduced
Yeah, I
it?
could see. Yeah, it's
Okay.
fine. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah. I mean, it just looks you know, like I said, compressed. So take everything that I'm saying with a grain of salt here, guys, because
Yeah.
we're looking at them squished through Zoom.
no,
We-
that's good. I just, when it was against that black background, it
Yeah.
just bled right into it. So I couldn't see where the distinct line was. This gave me a better view of it. So thanks.
Right.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
my only mention with this one is that
Yeah.
like the blacks are so black, so it would be nice to have like a little bit more detail in it. But the concept in the story is very nice. I grew up in a house with one of those exact old pianos I grew up learning to play on. Thing weighed like 40,000 pounds.
Okay, next one is Misty Morning Sleepin'.
This is cool. This is very cool. I've photographed a very similar situation in Half Moon Bay in California, and yeah, I gave this one a 9. This is really nice. It's nicely processed. Like, you know, just the luck of getting all these birds the way that they are, with like the little bit of yellow and everything else is desaturated and creamy, and even just the stacking of like the horizontal composition between the water, the birds, the water, the rocks, and then the stuff along the horizon. It's very nice.
Okay. This is Monolith.
Yeah, this is like a really nice composition. I believe this is in Oregon somewhere. I think I could be wrong on that, or no, this could be like California coast. Anyways, yeah, this is really nice. It's a beautiful composition. It's nicely color processed. It's not oversaturated. The focus stacking on it is quite nice. Yeah, so I gave this one an 8. I think it's very nice.
Okay. This is Nestled Among the Hills.
Again, this is like a beautiful fall scene. This is really lovely. I wonder if this is a pano that's been stitched together vertically, which I think it is. Yeah, it's very nice. I would try to balance out the saturation levels in the greens a little bit more, just because, I mean, there's lots of different shades of green, but the saturation in the grass is a little bit less than the saturation that's in the trees. So I'd probably try to bring that closer just a tiny little bit, but not much, like 5%, really small amount. But yeah, so I believe I gave this one an 8.
Okay. Next is Pastel Flower.
Yeah, this is really nice. As far as my understanding of color theory goes, this is not a pastel color, but I could be wrong. But it's a really nice shot. I wondered what it would look like without the second flower behind it, and I realized it would look just like a really boring commercial shot. So I decided that I quite like the second flower behind it. I gave this one a 7.
This is Recalling the Dance.
Yeah, so this one, I did give it a 5. It's a very cool concept, especially with the blending of exposures and stuff like that. The things that would make this really strong, like I love the little handprint on the backside wall. That's really nice. But this is such a great environment. I would love to see a little bit more attention paid to the composition of the area itself. So one thing to keep in mind whenever you're photographing things that are vertical, so like houses and stuff, is try to keep your verticals vertical, because if we tip our head sideways, our vertical still stays vertical, right? And so there's this thing that happens in images where if it's tipped, but it's not tipped intentionally, it's tipped just a little bit off, and it kind of takes the viewer even subconsciously out of the story. I think if there had been consideration to trying to even just like straighten those, I think that would have been like there's potential to do this really nicely.
Okay. Next is Riding Through Flowers.
This is very cool. I mean, obviously I grew up on horses, like I mentioned earlier, and this is like a view from home. So this is a really nice shot. I do wonder, so this is where I get stuck with these kinds of shots of, would it be better if this was shot vertically? So if we just like cropped off a bunch of the sunflowers, or if this was shot wider. So because right now what's happening is we have the environment and we have the subject, and they're taking up relatively similar amounts of space in the composition itself. So I wonder what it would be like if either the horse and rider were bigger and more central in the frame or smaller, and the sunflowers were the actual story. So I did give this one a 7, but it is really nice.
Okay. This is Symphony of Color.
Yeah, so abstract, I love intentional camera movement shots. These are oftentimes very difficult to do well. I did give this one a 6. I like the color and saturation balance throughout it. One thing that I would try to be mindful of is we have this big black vertical stripe on the left-hand side of the image, and I would probably try to break that up a little bit more, just so that the purple texture and everything in there with the white highlights can really stand out a little bit stronger.
Okay. This is Tell Us One More.
This is awesome. So the duck image that I was talking about earlier, how it would have been nice to get a little bit closer to lower to the water. This is exactly what I was talking about. So the height from the water here is really, really nice. The story here, especially with the title. So normally I don't really care about titles, but in this case here, the title like really makes a shot because it's funny. So yeah, I believe I scored this one as a 9 as well. I think it's really nicely done. Processing's great. Lens choice is awesome. Aperture is great. And yeah, the title perfectly matches.
Okay, then this is The Gentle Flow of Time.
Yeah, again, it's hard to go wrong with like a long exposure waterfall shot. These are really, really pretty. I mean, the saturation is balanced really nicely. The composition is very pretty. It's not too overcooked on the processing either, which is really nice. So I gave this one an 8.
Next is Tree Topper.
Super cool shot. Again, this is one where I can't tell if it's like the zoom or not. It's a very, very fun image. I love the tree. I like how it all looks. I do wonder what this would have looked like as just commit to the silhouette. Right. So right now you have a little bit of detail in the grass itself. And I think this would have been really, really, really interesting to see what it looked like if you had turned up the saturate or the contrast a little bit more, just to see what that looks like. But yeah, so I gave that one a 7. I think it's very cool.
Next is Tulip Trio.
Yeah, this is so pretty. It reminds me of the Netherlands. It's very softly color graded. The composition is really nice. The leaves are kind of like the 3 of them are dancing together. This little like family of flowers. So I give this one an 8. I think it's very nice, and the composition itself is also quite nice.
Okay. This is Two Chimneys.
Yeah, this is a really nice shot. Again, I mean, I'm saying they're all nice shots because they are. Like all of you guys in this camera club, you guys all do really nice work. So it kind of makes judging a little bit tricky. The one thing that I would try to be mindful of in this shot is watch the tree coming out of the chimney itself in the composition. So maybe trying to like move your camera just a little bit out of the way so that it doesn't look like this tree is growing out of the chimney, kind of like sticking trees coming out of people's heads. So that was like my only critique with this one. Otherwise, I mean, it's really, really nice. So I gave this one, I believe, a 7.
Okay. This one is Urban Hunter.
Yeah, that's cool. That's very cool. The color processing on it is really nice. I'm not sure if the rays of light were just from something in front of the camera or if they were added in post. I don't know if they needed to be added in post. I gave this one an 8, I think. The composition is really nice. There's a little bit of a hot spot on the bottom tip of his left wing, our right anyways. There's just like, you could probably turn that bright spot down just a tiny, tiny, tiny little bit. But yeah, I mean, lens choice again it was a really nice choice. Congrats on getting it sharp. It's a very cool shot.
Okay, and the last one in this category is Winter Garden.
Yeah, so this one I'm glad that I got to see it when we were switching, because I was like, oh, it's too bad that the bottom half of this is off, and then I saw it when you closed, when you made it smaller, and I was like, oh, there it is. So I changed my vote again. Yeah, this is it's very cool. It's a little bit crooked on the bottom, but just from how it was built itself. Yeah, this is an image that I think could have benefited from a little bit of a push in saturation and a tiny push in contrast, like maybe 2 to 3% push in contrast, I think would have done this image a lot of service. I think it's very cool. So I gave this one an 8.
Okay, so you have two 9s. So I'll put them up side by side and then you can take a look. They are both bird shots here. Oops, hold on, sorry.
You can leave them
Um,
small, like before,
okay,
it's
okay,
fine.
that's fine.
Yeah, so I would go with the one on the left then, the pelicans.
Okay.
Yeah, I think the color processing on the pelicans is the whites are a very beautiful shade of white, whereas with the seagulls, they're a little bit too warm for me. Like seagulls are I mean, historically white birds, especially if they've been in the water. So it would be nice to see them a little bit more of that pure white color. Yeah, I mean, basically that's like your color balance, right? So you have like yellow and blue and magenta and green. And basically just like pulling the warmth down into the cool by just like a couple marks. It would probably take like 2 or 3 down into the blue and you would neutralize that really nicely.
Okay. All right, let's go to the last category, which is advanced and monochrome. And this one is Crooked Smile.
Yeah, this is it's really nice. It's not over processed. Like we don't have any of the glowing halos or anything, which is really great. The composition is nice. I believe I gave this one a 7.
Okay. Next one is Dreamy Morning.
Really nice, long exposure. It's kind of hard to go wrong with long exposure in the Rockies. Yeah, the composition is great. I gave this one, I believe, a 7 as well. It's just very pleasing. I think the only critique I have on it is we have that tall tree on the far left-hand side there. I would either try to include a little bit more of it or just like nip it out. Just the way it's like crawling up the edge there.
Okay. This one is Gateway.
Yeah, this is cool again. Again, I think this really would benefit from a little bit more contrast added to it. I mean, obviously this is from the air, so it's impossible to focus stack this stuff because that's just not how that works. But yeah, it's a really nice composition. It's a view of that bridge that we don't often get to see. So yeah, I would love to see this with like a tiny little bit more punch and contrast. I believe I gave this one a 7 as well.
This is In Need of Salvation.
Super cool shot. Love the story here. You know, the water coming right up to the old church and stuff like that. I can't tell on Zoom if the trees around the church are sharp. I know that the foreground is sharp. That's just a bandwidth thing. Like that's
yeah.
But anyways, I gave this one an 8.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a really nice balance of contrast to light as well.
Okay. This is It's a Hard Knock Life.
This is so good. But I'm partial to cats, so I'm trying to not be that person. I have like a cat that looks very similar to that one. But yeah, I mean, this is really nicely processed. The composition is great. I love the grittiness around it. And just like the expression on this cat is just like he's seen some stuff, you know, it's like another excellent titled image. I gave this one an 8. This is very, very cool.
This is Sacred Grotto.
Yeah, so this is cool. I did give this one a 5. One thing to always keep in mind when you're doing these kinds of compositions is to watch that the pieces that you're putting into the image, especially if they're the focus of your shot, are not softer than your background. So in this case here, the trees behind the bird itself are much sharper than the bird. So you really want to keep that in mind when you're, you know, cutting these things out and putting them in together because yeah, that's, and your contrast doesn't quite line up either. Your trees have more contrast than the bird itself. So in order to counteract that, you would either want to blur the trees a little bit or sharpen the bird. usually you have to do some combination of both.
Okay. This is San Francisco de Assis Mission.
Very cool shot. I think this is a sky replacement, either that or it was overcooked a little bit in post-production. We have a little bit of glowing halo around the tree here on the left. So I'm assuming that's a Luminar or a Photoshop sky swap. But I mean, the composition is really interesting. The sky swap choice is a good choice, but definitely if it is an over-processing thing, you want to make sure that you're not pushing the HDR too hard, that you're getting those glowing halos again. And if you are sky swapping, definitely paying attention to what's going on in the leaves, which is what makes sky swapping so challenging. So I think I give this one a 7.
Okay. Spring has sprung.
Again, a really nice tulip choice. This is very poetic. Like, this is the kind of stuff that when I like read about poets talking about spring, this is the kind of image that goes with it. So I gave this one an 8. I think it's very pretty, it's very delicate, and it's the kind of image that if you put it up on your wall, it's not like an Instagram photo, right, where it like shouts at you that it needs to be, taking over space in the room. This is an image that just like quietly makes the room better.
This is springtime sledding.
Super cute. I love these kinds of shots. I mean, like, they're so happy and joyful. Composition wise, we did cut off her foot there. And the horizon line is going right through her nose, like through the middle of her face. So this is an image that I think would be made really stronger if this was taken like laying on the ground. Obviously, this is kind of a snapshot, so it's hard to like predict where people are going to be. But definitely in the future, try to either get a little bit higher or a little bit lower from your subject, just so that the horizon line isn't cutting through the neck or the middle of the face. So I gave this one a 6.
Okay. Next is Storm Butte.
Very nice composition. The contrast choices is really, really nice. The atmospheric depth makes perfect sense here. The love the leading lines and everything like that. I think I gave this one a 9.
Okay. And last one is Zen in black and white.
Really nice. Again, like all of them. I would love to see this a little bit longer exposure though, because what we're having right now is the rain, the water that's coming down and the water drops that are coming across. It's creating this kind of like crisscross pattern across the center of the image, which I think takes away from this nice little sculpture here with the snow on top of it. So this center line here going horizontal across is a little bit competing. So a longer exposure or a shorter exposure, I think would improve this image. I gave this one, did I tell you already? Uh-oh, did I freeze?
No.
No, no, I didn't get a score.
Okay, yeah, 7.
Okay, so I stopped sharing and now I turn it over to Chuck.
All right, let me finish up this. Excuse me. All right. Let's jump back in here. Okay. So scrolling back up. Beginner, intermediate, digital color. Let's start with first place is Takeoff by Gary Hubel. Second place, Milky Way at Pleasure Park by Matt Gates. Third place, Leaves Floating on a Pond in the Rain by John Bumgardner. And honorable mention, Love, also by John Bumgardner. The judge award on that one was White Pass by Dave Jenny. The advanced digital color. Let's see, first place, Tell Us One More by Carino Zaragoza. Second place, and the judge's award goes to Misty Morning Sleep In by Candy Herman. Third place, The Gentle Flow of Time by Elaine Graves. And honorable mention, Urban Hunter by Carino Zaragoza. Scrolling on down to advanced digital mono. First place, Zen in black and white, me. Second place, Sacred Grotto by Paul Malinowski. Third place, Dreamy Morning, Michael Rhino. Honorable mention, It's a Hard Knock Life, Ashley. And Judge Award, Storm Butte, Peter Rondinone. And there you have it.
Great. Michael?
Yeah. Great images, everybody in that. Again, I want to thank everybody for submitting those. And Renee, fabulous commentary and critique and the feedback. Just in going through there, I kind of jotted down some things in that. I mean, I know I learned just, again, from these and from your commentary and so forth, when it comes to composition and some of those kind of things, as far as, things that I will keep in mind whenever I go out there, and changes that I'll make, whether it's cropping differently and so forth, and that really, really helpful. And then also some of the other comments that you made with regards to, and we don't always get this in these critiques, but a lot of good commentary on color, color processing, color balance, color grading, and so forth. And that it's clear just in, through the commentary that you had in there, how much experience you have in that. And it's something I know I could do a whole lot better at. So really appreciate that. That was real helpful.
Yeah, in the future for you guys, I think it would be really helpful if you have the images on like a Google Drive, so the judge can see them on their own screen, so you're not seeing it compressed through Zoom. I think that'll help get like more accurate feedback to what the images really look like. That might be helpful. I mean, assuming everyone's comfortable with their images going onto a Google Drive, then at least we're not dealing with like, is that actually pixelated from the internet or is that just soft?
Yeah, and you brought it up a few times, and I know, we've been on these either through this club or elsewhere and so forth, and that one, and somehow Zoom just somehow changes, like you said, whether it's pixelation or whether it changes a little bit of the color, whether it takes away some of the sharpness and that. So it does add some of the challenges in terms of doing this, but you were able to work your way through that and understand which ones were probably being Zoom affected and which ones, maybe just needed to be processed differently or whatever.
I hope so. I hope that somebody's like, that's sharp. I'm like, I'm sorry.
And I forgot to offer that as an option, Renee. In the past, I've offered judges, I've actually uploaded them to Dropbox, same as Google Drive. And, so if they wanted to see them ahead of time and spend a little more time, so far only one judge has wanted to do that. And I actually had one or two others be sort of offended by my offer of that. So I think I got gun shy, and but I need to get a thick skin, and I'll just offer that every time. So thanks for saying that. Your feedback really helps us.
Okay.
Yep.
No worries.
And the other thing I wanted to say real quickly in that, and again, thank you everybody for submitting images. Once again, a lot of really good images that came across. Also, thank you, Paul, for running through the the routine and so forth of running the competition. Chuck for doing the scoring. There's a lot of work that goes on behind the scenes that Chuck does in terms of keeping tabs of the scores and so forth and that. So again, phenomenal job in doing that. And Bruce also for setting up the meeting, the Zoom, and everything else you do for the club is really appreciated. And with that, Renee, there's a couple very good compliments into the comments that are coming up and so forth. Also encourage everybody, I know we had earlier posted out there on there a couple links to a few of the things that Renee is working on. One is her website, and the website also does have a link to your the Alchemist Library program that you have. Creative Live. If you go out to Creative Live, you can pick up some of her. You just had one of them that just came out just a few weeks ago in that.
Yeah, I have 2 new Creative Live courses online right now that came out this year. So if you just go to Creative Live and search Renee Robyn, you'll see all the classes that I have there up.
Right. Very helpful. And then the last thing I was going to say is that once you're able to get out and about, and if you do make it out to Colorado, we'll set up. We'll definitely set up that workshop that I think Paul was asking.
Awesome. I love Colorado. So that'd be great.
We'll do something. There's plenty of things out here to photograph too. So we'll put something together. But really appreciate it again, and thank you for your time. Thanks for doing.
Yeah, like I said, it's
really appreciate
happy to do it. I'm glad you asked.
Great. So with that, that was all I had. I don't know if anybody else has any comments or.
Did I go through that way too fast?
No,
No,
we
you know
have,
what?
You can do a run through of everybody's photos just to. we can
Oh, yeah,
see-
yeah, yeah. Sorry
oh,
about that.
yeah, yeah. Okay,
Yeah, so Renee, what we do here is Paul will, and this is real quick, no, other than just, he just pulls a photo up and then says who took it. So that way we all get to see what, who the photographer is behind each image. So go ahead.
yeah, if I go more than a minute and a half, cut me off. Okay, so. And again, I just always want to verify, is that first image up on the screen?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. As the world turned, Matt Gates. Leaves floating on a pond in the rain, John Bumgardner. Love, John Bumgardner. Milky Way at Pleasure Park, Matt Gates. Misty Fjord, David Jenny. Take Off, Gary Hubble. White Pass, David Jenny. Okay. Oh. America the Beautiful, Ashley Sertich. Daniela, Dave Purcell. End of the Road, Crystal Kraft. Future Earth, Peter Rondinoni. Industry, Rand Nagali. Ivory Tears, Keith Thurman. Misty Morning Sleepin', Candy Herman. Monolith, Larry Johnson. Nestled Among the Hills, Elaine Graves. Pastel Sunflower, Phil Rubino. Recalling the Dance, me. Michael Rhino, Riding Through the Flowers. Symphony of Colors was Jim Stambaugh. Tell Us One More, Karina Zaragoza. The Gentle Flow of Time, Elaine Graves. Tree Topper, Chuck Rasco. Tulip Trio, Crystal Kraft. Two Chimneys, Larry Johnson. Urban Hunter, Karina Zaragoza. Winter Garden was Corey Baumgardner. And the last group here, Crooked Smile was Corey Baumgardner. Dreamy Morning, Michael Rhino. Gateway, Rand. In Need of Salvation, Keith Thurman. It's a Hard Knock Life, Ashley. Sacred Grotto, me. San Francisco Diocese Mission, Dave Purcell. Spring Has Sprung, Phil Rubino. Springtime Sledding, Jim Stambaugh. Storm Butte, Peter Rondinoni. And Zen in Black and White, Chuck Rasco. There.
Oh, sorry about that. I was on mute. Yeah. So again, thanks for running through those. Again, great images, and it's good to put a name behind the photo on that. So thanks for doing that, Paul.
And I'll get the YouTube uploaded probably next day or two for this.
Okay, great. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Have a good night. Thanks, Renee.
You're welcome.
Yeah,
Thanks, Renee.
thanks again for
Yeah,
joining.
Really
thanks for having
good.
me.
Really good.
We'll see you in
Thank you so
person one
much.
day.
Yeah.
Okay.